welcome back to Life of Dave. So I've just nipped down the boat again, see if I can get a little bit done. Basically what I wanted to do was get this just cleaned up, acetone down and get some glass on there again. So let's crack on and see what I can get done. I brought the Hoover with me today. It's dark in here because I've got a cover on the boat. And with the weather it's quite windy out and all the rest of it. I didn't want to be messing about undoing the cover because I've got to undo the back to get in. I've got to undo the front to peel it back to let the light. What I want to do was have the cover blowing off and shredding around. It can ruin. There we go. So you might have a bit of a shadow, but at least we can see. Let's just hoover this out quickly. Right, so I've removed the masking because I think it's just in my way slightly there, and I'm going to get loads of resin coming down over it, and the glass where I've got a tab in under here could well come down a little bit lower than that. So I'm just going to move it down out of my way a little bit. It'll make it easier to lose the edge. There's a rib here, I can lose the edge onto there so it don't look as prominent, and it'll make it easier to sand back as well. So there's my plan. So I'm going to lose that for now and just move it down a wee bit. So all this has been sanded already, as most of you that have watched will probably know. I've come down yesterday and done a load more sanding. A bit here needs dressing up. I'm going to have to sort those edges out as we go, get that done as well. Lots of work to do, that's for sure. Retake that a little bit lower down so I can get into that edge there. Right, we'll get some glass cut. Shred up some sections of glass to use in there. I want it all wispy strand ends so that I can blend it better rather than cutting it with the shears. Right, try that for a second. So I've got some offcuts and bits and pieces here. So I'm just going to try and use some of these to build up a layer around there. I'm going to raise this side up so that it's level with this side. Transition that across there so it's one nice smooth surface. That's the plan. I need to put a bit more down here to make this the same shape as that. That's going to be the tricky bit. Very tricky. It's not far out, I don't think. I think it's more because the front's not matching that side. And I need to glass it into place as well, so I need some for along the top. So I'm going to do it in little bits, overlapping so that everything's tied in to cover that up. So we're going to put the edge onto the edge of that so that I don't lose that edge too much to blend that in. That's the plan anyway. When you give it a good overlap, it's pretty much the same as putting down one strip. Do it. A bit for the top, I've got a bit for that bit there. I've got to tie in underneath. That will probably do me about that size. That comes to there, that's not bad at all. I'm just going to whisk this end if I can. Turn it the other way. Better.
of these bits you tear off are just scrap, you know, you could chuck it away. But just sometimes you might need a bit like that. You can patch all that together. You know, you can use that for tiny little areas of low spots. You know, it's fiberglass. It's not like welding a car up where you want one nice solid panel. You can patch this stuff over the top of itself perfectly fine. Right, so we've got a bit to go in there. A little bit more for that end. That end's wispy. That can probably go with a solid end that side, because that's terminating against that side there. It doesn't need to be wispy. That's better. That'll go that way. Beautiful. I need a little bit more to go into there. See what we've got here. Right, and that bit actually will do that. A bit there, didn't I? There we go. So wisp the ends. That'll go in there. Cover that up to there. Beautiful. I'll say it's just all the offcuts that I keep to hand, because you never know when you're going to need them. I didn't actually have to tear any more off. I've got enough in offcuts to do what I want today. The only thing I don't know is if the camera's going to be able to see what I'm doing from there, with me sitting in the way, basically, isn't it? Right, so I think that camera angle will work from there. You'll be able to see roughly what I'm doing, except for under there. I've got my rollers. I've found a brush. Now all I've got to do is mix up some resin. The roller's a little rinse. Make sure they haven't got any crud on them. And just make sure these are nice and clean. Want to make sure they're not completely dusty and horrible for use. So I'm sort of running out of room because I've taken the seating out. I've got nowhere to stand the camera behind me or next to me, so I thought if I put you up there for now, that might work. We'll try it, see how we go. Right, shake up the resin. Unfortunately you now can't see what I'm doing, you can only see when I'm working. Right, let's pause that and we'll come back on in a second. Right, that's better. We'll move the camera over there. I don't like knocking up too much resin. I don't want more than I can use before it goes off. And I don't want to mix up enough that I'm going to waste loads, you know, more than I need. So I like to do it a bit at a time. I'm not doing big areas, I'm only doing a small bit at a time, so I don't like to mix too much up in one go. A little cool at the day, so it ain't freezing. It's quite warm in here. I've got the heater on. So as that's mixing up, I can see that's changing colour. So I know the catalyst's working. It's a nice uniform colour all the way through, so we know it's mixed up. I ain't knocked that out too hot. I'm going to turn that heater off for a minute because I think that might end up making it go off too fast. I'm going to start with the top bit, because obviously it's going to drip downwards, so we'll do that first. So this is slightly over vertical, it's pointing back at me slightly, so potential to be a lot of bits of resin running and dripping there, as you can see. What I'm after is a nice little build up. It doesn't matter if I go up slightly higher than where my glass is going to come to. What I don't want to do is go lower. And I'm not trying to scrape too much of this off. I want a good layer of resin there, so as I put that glass on, it sticks to it. Runs. Because that's going to drink that up. So what I tend to do is I put it on above. That'll curtain down a little bit. I'm going to take me glass. I'm going to stick that over there. A little bit more at this end. I think I'm going to end up covering most of this anyway, so I'm going to sand that top off actually. I'm going to put the wispy bits down. Go from there, I think, with that. I can get to that top nicely to lose that. I should have wisped off both sides really on that one, but should have. I didn't. Changing my mind, see. But I can always cut that, sand that and lose that edge anyway. Not a problem. It's just easier to lose the edge if it's wispy. And this bit's already had a section of glass over anyway. This is just to tie into this section really, so that I've got a nice fresh bit of glass going on at the same time as this one. A bit broken that. Let's put that on there. So overlap it nicely. Wet it out because I want to overlap the next bit, so I want this bit here wet before I put the next bit of glass on. I'm not worried about going all the way up the top with those wispy bits because that's going to sand off. And as I stipple this resin in, the glass will move around, so I just want to be aware that I'm keeping this edge along there roughly level so it's not too low down, covering up my nice neat edge there. A bit of resin in there, I don't want that in there. That'll stop my door from closing and it'll be a bugger to sand. So now what we can see is those two bits of glass have gone together and it looks like one piece of glass now. You can see this harder edge there as opposed to, well, you probably can't see it on the camera, but I can see a harder edge there as opposed to the wispy bits on this one, which is why I like the wisps really, but I've kept the harder edge to keep along the bottom edge. That'll just make this a little bit thicker basically. Obviously I've got resin behind it, but I want a bit more on the front. Saturate it so it's dripping off everywhere, but you need enough to wet it out so there's no dry spots. And of course the main purpose of this, well the only purpose of this, is to tie this tiny little bit here to the rest of the boat. Really I could have done with a little bit more. Like I say, I should have made the lockers a bit bigger, brought them down a bit, would have made the door easier to fit on. A bit of hindsight would have made that a lot better, but I've done it now, so I'm committed to making them how I've made them. It's a shame, but I'm not restarting it now. I think them wispy bits there will taper that out nicely. So you can use your stippling to move the glass a bit into place if you need to. I will be running a sander over there, but I don't want too much overhang. I want to be able to sand it off easily. Give that a quick roll because I don't want it setting up. So as you roll it or step or anything like that, you get movement. The glass tries to move up or down. Up, down, lefty, righty. Oh, it's just a little bit dry. Just not looking like it was fully saturated. I'm trying not to get too much mess running down, but it needed a little bit more. I don't want it to be too resin rich, but obviously it's got to be fully wetted out. And what I was seeing, there was little dry spots there. So as I was rolling it out, I could see it looked a bit dry, so it's just an indicator that it wants a bit more resin. I'll roll the top bits up and then roll that bit downwards, so that will just draw off any excess, and roll that air out to the edge. You don't want to be running it up and down quickly. That's a lot better. Yeah, it just wasn't quite right. I'm working it quite poor light. I've just got that little lamp on. There's a little bubble there. Get rid of that. But the main bit is this needs to be tied in without bubbles, so that this can't move. You know, there's only a small contact area there, so I need it to be good. See, well, I've rolled that out, it's now moved the glass down slightly. What I was seeing is I'm getting a bubbling just above the line of the part there, attracting air, so there's a little dip there between the two surfaces, so I'm having to just roll the air out of it. Quite tricky actually. I can see it just bubbling there, it's not sticking into that section quite as well as I'd like. So what it's doing is the air comes out and I can see it's all gone and it looks great, and then as you leave it, it pops back. See the air just growing underneath that, so that cloth's not sticking in there, that little groove. Which is a bit of a pain in me butt, but I need this to start sort of tacking off a bit, and then just keep working it to keep that air out as we go. It's completely gone, and then I can see it just coming back, so it's coming away, so there's a slight dimple there. Really that needs a bit of filler in it. I need to put a bit of filler in there and then work it, but you can see that. You can see that on the camera. I need this to tack off so it go a bit sticky, and then I can just work that back as it goes off. And look at this edge, look, see? All hanging down. Yeah, I had that level with that. So it shows how you spread the glass out as you roller it. So this section here, I've now got a big build up there, so most of that will have to be sanded down. I need to build this up a bit down here to match that. All over that. Deviating from the plan. So I'm basically now just using glass as a filler. So instead of putting filler on here, I'm trying to build it up with glass to smooth it out, make it more even between the layers. I don't want a big wedge of filler in there. There will be some filling to go on, but obviously I don't want it all filler. The way I put that first bit on, it's made a big ridge there, so I'm just trying to smooth it out a little bit with a bit of glass underneath to blend it slightly. That seems to have worked. I'll wipe this a bit of acetone, because that will just be more sandy to do otherwise. Getting all that resin off. But, right, moving on. Right, so we're starting to get, should be starting to get a little stickier now. Not quite as runny, hopefully. So that looks like that's stuck in now. So what was happening was where the resin's so runny still, it's not holding the glass to the boat. You know, it wasn't sticking. It was just coming away again. So I was getting rid of the air, and then I could just watch it coming back again, which isn't good. So by just taking your time, as the resin goes off, it becomes more sticky, more tacky. That then starts holding it in place, and that's what I needed it to do. I needed it to start going off a little bit more, just tack up a little bit. I want it going off, because, you know, so it's starting to jelly. But obviously with a bit of time, that resin starts getting a little stickier and a little tackier, and it holds it to the part better. So those bubbles have now disappeared. I've managed to walk that out. This bit here is going to do the same. I'll just need to work that through, plenty of resin into it, and then keep an eye on it, just keep walking them bubbles out as we go. What I don't want to do is sort of disturb that bit that I've done too much. Got to obviously go over this bit here where the two are joining. So we've got the same issue going on now. So this bit's now gone back. That looks pretty good. Little bubbles in that now. It's not major structural, you know, it's not a boat hull or holding up anything major. It's just a locker. I'd like it done correctly as I can get it. This is why I don't like mixing up too much resin. I've mixed up far more than I need at the moment. Because what's happening is I've got a problem I'm trying to deal with. So that resin is going to be going off. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do what I want here at all. It's just not working, and I've got to go soon. So worst comes to the worst, I'll let that set up and I'll have to redo this section here. I'll just grind through that, clean it out, put some filler in and do it again. I think that's what I'm going to have to do, just let that set up. It's not working really. There's a little low spot in there and it's causing it to bubble, so I think we'll come back to that.